Well, it is the 4th day of August 2022. The High Court has made a significant ruling as the country heads to the next general election. We'll be telling you why that has happened. But first, let's have a look at what made it to the highlights tonight. Tonight, High Court orders IEBC to use manual register to back up the digital one to identify voters in August polls.
I don't see there is any crisis in the ruling because we had already prepared ourselves with a manual register at every polling station.
As CS Matiang'i gazettes Tuesday next week as a public holiday to enable Kenyans participate in the general election. Also tonight, Court allows Kenya Kwanza to use Nyayo National Stadium for their last rally on Saturday.
We have a contract already signed between us and Nyayo Stadium. They tried to manipulate that contract. The court has said we should have the meeting in Nyayo Stadium. We are preparing to have the meeting in Nyayo Stadium.
Plus, President Kenyatta drums up support for Azimio's Raila Odinga in Mombasa and Makueni as Odinga rallies his Kisumu backyard.
Wa Mombasa, munaniunga mkono tukisema wale ambao wana uwezo wa kutuongoza kwa amani ni mmoja mzee Raila Amolo.
And the director of a children's home jailed for 100 years in prison after being found guilty of defiling 4 minors. Well, good evening. My name is Eric Munene. Our sign language interpreter at the bottom end of your screen is Mini Mbesa. A court has sentenced the director of a children's home to 100 years in prison after he was found guilty of defiling 4 minors for 6 years. Now, Stephen Nzuki, who quoted the Bible while defiling his victims, appeared before Nairobi Senior Principal Magistrate Zainab Abdul, who sentenced him after finding him guilty of defiling the minors between the year 2010 to 2016. This story was produced by Andrew Juma.
A former director of a children's home was sentenced to 100 years in jail for defiling minors. Milimani Senior Principal Magistrate Zainab Abdul said Nzuki would have protected the minors under his custody. Nzuki defiled them severally while quoting the Bible. His victims appeared before Nairobi Senior Principal Magistrate, who sentenced him after finding him guilty of defiling the minors between the year 2010 to 2016.
There is no doubt that the offences committed are very serious and carry a heavy penalty. The accused, being a director of a children's home, ought to have protected the minors, but this was not the case.
While sentencing him, the magistrate considered the impact of the act to the minors who at the time were aged between 9 years and 17 years.
The minors who are now adults were definitely affected by the accused person's actions, and he shall be sentenced as follows. In count 1, where the minor was 9 years at the time of the offence, you shall serve 50 years imprisonment. Count 2, where the minor was 15 years, you will serve 20 years imprisonment. Count 3, where the minor was 13 years, you will serve 20 years imprisonment. Count 4, where you were found guilty for the offence of indecent act with a minor, you shall serve 10 years imprisonment. The offences took place on different dates, therefore the sentences shall run consecutively.
The magistrate, while convicting the accused late last month, said the accused Stephen Nzuki took advantage of the minors while quoting the Bible to them to convince them that the act is allowed in the Bible.
It came out during the submissions that the accused person is also facing similar charges at Makadara and Milimani law courts. A pre-sentence report was presented whereby only minor, now an adult, was interviewed and custodial sentence as a deterrent to other would-be offenders.
The magistrate in her ruling said that there was no difficulty in the identification of the accused persons by the minors.
Willy Mwangi, ingia hapo.
Moving on, Azimio One Kenya flag bearer Raila Odinga has taken his vote hunt mission to his Kisumu stronghold 4 days to the polls. Odinga made his final rally in Kisumu where he urged his supporters to come out in large numbers and vote him as the 5th president come August 9th. Flora Limuki with the details.
4 days to Tuesday's polls, Azimio flag bearer Raila Odinga rallied his Kisumu political base, Odinga holding a mega rally in Kisumu as he consolidates his support. Odinga dismissed allegations from Kenya Kwanza faction that they are planning to use chiefs and government organizations to interfere with the next general election, and says Ruto's statement to journalists today is a sign of fear as he has already foreseen the possibility of losing the election.
Don't come with shadow boxing and shadow shows. Uhuru want to rig the elections using provincial administration, or there's intention to intimidate members of the IEBC and so on. Hakuna kitu kama hiyo. Uhuru is the outgoing president of the Republic of Kenya. Leave him alone. We do not need the chiefs, assistant chiefs or administration to win these elections.
Raila's running mate Martha Karua has urged Kenyans not to be swayed by leaders peddling propaganda as they try to woo them. Karua has also reiterated that the country needs a deputy who does not go against the sitting head of state.
Adabu huna, unatusi kila mtu. Wewe si muaminifu, unaporapora kila mahali. Wewe si mzalendo, hujaonyesha kwa historia yako ya kwamba unaweza kujipeana kwa sababu ya Wakenya.
Hii uchaguzi ya wiki ijayo ni baina ya ufisadi na ukombozi.
Leaders who accompanied Odinga to the western region have asked Kenyans to avoid voting in leaders who want to divide them on tribal lines, further stating that Azimio government will revolutionize the country.
Why is he seeking cheap sympathy? Anatoa machozi. Ametuambia ametubu nini?
Baba gives us a chance for a break, for another community to rule this country.
The Azimio Brigade toured Waihiga, Luanda and held a mega rally. They are expected in Tononoka grounds, Mombasa County, Friday to wrap up their campaigns before 6th of August when they will return to the city. Flora Limuki, TV 47.
Moving on, Deputy President William Ruto kept on with his attacks against President Uhuru Kenyatta, accusing him of solely being behind the transfer of Mombasa port operations. Ruto, who made his final pitch to the people of Mombasa, urged residents to choose the Kenya Kwanza side, which he says has an agenda for the country.
As the clock ticks towards election day on Tuesday, the long-running feud between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto is not likely to die anytime soon, with the DP now calling out his boss over what he says is his involvement in high-level corruption and state capture. As the president was launching projects in various parts of the coastal city, his deputy was few blocks away at the Tononoka grounds, blaming all the woes of the Jubilee administration on the 2018 Uhuru-Raila handshake.
Serikali ya handshake ndio imehamisha port ya Mombasa, ikahamisha port operation, ikaenda Nairobi. Wale watu wachache wenye ubinafsi wakahamisha port operation kutoka hapa wakapeleka Nairobi. Wewe unadanganya watu wa Mombasa eti utarudisha port. Wewe mwenye kupeleka port utarudisha vipi? Na wale sponsors wako ndio wamehamisha hiyo port operation kwenda Mombasa.
Ruto, who held last-minute charm offensive campaigns in Raila's strongholds of Ukambani and Coast region, once again fired salvos at Odinga for failing to show up at the presidential debate, saying Odinga has no plans for Kenya.
Huyo jamaa aliponea chupu-chupu. Nilikuwa nimempangia pale kwa debate, kama angejaribu kuja, angekiona, angetoka hapo akienda hospitalini. Nyenye mnanielewa? Nyenye mnanielewa? Nyenye mnanielewa? Nilikuwa nataka nimuulize jamaa wa kitendawili. Wewe mzee wa kitendawili, umeleta serikali ya handshake. Serikali ya handshake ndio imehamisha port ya Mombasa, ikahamisha port operation.
Thursday's visit was Ruto's last bullet in the coast and Ukambani regions before campaigns end officially on Saturday, and the Deputy President is banking on eating into Odinga's perceived strongholds in order to clinch the top job after Uhuru's exit. Waris Kimathi, TV47.
Tonight, Deputy President William Ruto has sensationally claimed that President Uhuru Kenyatta is behind a plot to interfere with next week's general election to ensure that he does not win the presidency. The DP, in a press briefing at his current residence, claimed that the president held a meeting in Nakuru where county commissioners and chiefs received instructions to conduct a voter suppression campaign and provoke conflict. A meeting Ruto claims led to the circulation of inciting leaflets in the Rift Valley region. TV47's our senior political affairs reporter, TV47's Apollo Kamau, now reports.
After a week of trading barbs on their fallout, Deputy President William Ruto has put President Uhuru Kenyatta on the spot for leading what he claims is an orchestrated campaign sponsored by the state to deny him victory in next week's general election. Ruto citing a Nakuru meeting chaired by the head of state, where county commissioners and chiefs were instructed to cause chaos in his strongholds to intimidate people not to turn up on Tuesday to vote.
The president met people in Nakuru, and the outcome of that meeting is not good for our country. Apart from threats to members of my team who are leaders, what is emerging from those meetings is eventually the leaflets you see.
Ruto putting the president in the middle of hate leaflets circulating in the Rift Valley in a highly staked election where the Kenyatta succession has become a do-or-die contest. The deputy president is now asking the director of the National Intelligence Service, retired Major General Joseph Kameru, the electoral body IEBC, and the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, Noordin Haji, to investigate.
The president knows them very well. And the president must stop these people from causing conflict among us Kenyans. The same way the president stopped Mr. Kinoti about a year ago when he was planning the same schemes with the post-election violence victims. The president is very well aware what Mr. Kinoti was planning then. He is very well aware what these people are planning now.
In what Ruto describes as well-choreographed state plot, led at the top by the president, his Interior Cabinet Secretary, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, and PS Karanja Kibicho, 3 county commissioners from Nakuru, Uasin Gishu, Trans Nzoia and Rift Valley Regional Commissioner Maali Mohamed, and chiefs, Father Ropsin, former MPs Jenga Mungai and Joseph Kuna, using 2 Kikuyu FM stations to advance their agenda and cause panic.
These leaflets are not innocent. There are people known by the state behind these leaflets. And the intention of these leaflets and pamphlets are to cause panic in the population and to create a situation that will foment citizens fearing to go and vote.
The DP's allegations implicating the president in a plot to interfere with the election has not only exposed the stakes in this election, but also a make or break week ahead of the poll next week on Tuesday. Apol Kamau, TV47, at the official residence of the Deputy President in Karen, Nairobi.
Well, thank you for that, Apollo Kamau. Politics dominated the grand opening of government projects in Mombasa County. Speaking after commissioning the 4.5 billion shillings Makopa Bridge and the railway gauge, President Uhuru Kenyatta criticized his deputy, William Ruto, for what he said was misguiding Kenyans over the handshake. As our Mombasa-based reporter Patronila Goren now reports, Kenyatta insists that his government has achieved a lot after the handshake.
President Kenyatta has yet again defended his government after the handshake with former Premier Raila Odinga, citing that claims by his deputy William Ruto that the government has been unable to perform after the handshake are baseless.
Sababu kama hakuna kazi ambayo imefanyika kutoka 2017 ni kumaanisha mwaka wa 2020 ulikuwa mbele ya mwaka wa 2017, ndio? Ama ni namna gani? Ni mimi sijui hesabu ama ni hawa hawajui hesabu? Nikisema ya kwamba huyo ni muongo, ni ukweli ama sio ukweli? Ni kumwekelea ama ni ukweli?
According to Kenyatta, his deputy Ruto is misguiding Kenyans. Kenyatta says he has implemented major projects because of the peace agreement between him and Odinga.
Mambo haya mengi tumeweza kuyafanya kwa sababu ya umoja na amani ambayo imekuwa katika taifa letu la Kenya. Kuna wengine wamesema ya kwamba shughuli na kazi za serikali ziliisha 2017 na hakuna kitu ambayo imeendelea ati kwa sababu ya handshake.
At the same time, Kenyatta continued to champion Mombasa voters to rally behind Azimio presidential candidate Raila Odinga as his successor.
Na mimi sijui kama nyinyi watu wa Pwani, watu wa Mombasa, mnaniunga mkono tukisema wale ambao wana uwezo wa kutuongoza kwa amani ni mmoja, mzee Raila Mwaure.
The development projects commissioned, including the 40 billion Nanyuki Pevu oil terminal, 4.5 billion Makupa bridge and Liwatoni fisheries, are set to boost the port city's economy and the coastal region at large.
Among the global map, there will be an indication that Mombasa is an international island. Therefore, tourists will be coming from all over the place.
Patronila Goren for TV47 in Mombasa County.
Well, moving on, a fresh battle between the IEBC and the Azimio la Umoja faction is brewing just 4 days to the general election, with the Azimio wing now demanding access to the electronic results transmitted on the election day. This as the push by the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition to have a manual register incorporated in next Tuesday's polls received a major boost Thursday after the High Court directed the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, to provide the said register during the August 9th, 2022 general election. As Micah Gongo reports, the poll agency, however, insists it had already printed the register to be used in case of network failure.
In a ruling that once again comes as a blow to the IEBC, Justice Dande Magoha said the electoral body violated, among others, Section 69(1)(d) of the Elections Act, which requires that IEBC to have both the manual voter register and KIEMS kits in all polling stations on election day. The judge also stated it was unconstitutional to rely only on the digital directory, as that risked locking out voters whose details can't be retrieved from the electronic voter register. But in a quick rejoinder, the IEBC has maintained that it has always prepared to use the manual register in cases of internet failure.
We have already confirmed to Kenyans that we have printed manual register in every polling station. It will be available in every polling station. So we don't see there is any crisis in the ruling, because we had already prepared ourselves with a manual register at every polling station.
Meaning that 6 backups per county assembly ward, meaning that we will have adequate backup just in case the technology fails.
The end of manual register standoff, however, is the beginning of a new battlefront, as the Azimio wing now demands access to electronic results transmitted on election day. In a letter to the Wafula Chebukati-led commission, the Azimio faction, through Odinga's legal advisor Paul Mwangi, is requesting access to the credentials of the interface that will be used to stream election results in real time. On its part, the Commission continues to ensure stakeholders of a full-proof process devoid of any hiccups, saying each KIEMS will be assigned to a unique polling station and every presiding officer given a unique password to open the RTS system.
And we want to see Form B taken to the National Tallying Center with Form A, so that the presidential returning officer can verify, and his team, that the B that had been tallied matches the results that came from A, because A is the principal and the primary result.
The returning officer will also have the duty to confirm that all Forms 34A for respective constituency have been received and verified per each elective position, so as to preview and generate Form 34B that will then be signed and uploaded to the public portal per each elective position. The electoral agency is categorical that Form 34A for the presidential elections cannot be amended once the form image has been captured by the Kenya Integrated Elections Management Systems (KIEMS). Meanwhile, election observers have been challenged to ensure accuracy in their reports of next Tuesday's general election. In a session with both local and international election observers, IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati said the observation missions will be facilitated to undertake their duties, but that they should ensure they remain factual to avoid unnecessary criticisms of the electoral process.
Your reports, your testimonies then come in to add to that transparency that we have been working on.
The election observers are also expected to assess the level of IEBC's preparedness before Tuesday next week, compliance with the electoral law, and also compliance to democracy. Mike Kagwango, TV 47, Bomas of Kenya, Nairobi.
Well, thank you, Mike Kagwango, for that. Agano Party presidential flag bearer David Waihiga Mwaure has accused the Kenya Kwanza and Azimio One Kenya factions of what he says are political divides for spreading hate speech as they throw barbs at each other in their political rallies. Mwaure has stated that Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i and Professor George Magoha of the Ministry of Interior and Education, respectively, are the top proposals to be in his government. Now, others are Mama Ida Odinga, Rachel Ruto, and artist Willie Paul, who could feature in Mwaure's cabinet. With only 4 days remaining to the much-anticipated August 9th polls, high-octane politics are being experienced in the country as the deadline to the campaign period comes close. Agano Party presidential candidate David Mwaure has also lashed out at his opponents for what he says is inciting the voters by predetermining the results before the elections.
Azimio and Kenya Kwanza have always used chiefs. And what either is saying against the other is what they have always done, and even now they have loyal chiefs in their midst. We wish to denounce in the strongest terms possible the danger and likely violence that the two alleged big formations, Azimio la Umoja and Kenya Kwanza, are fanning by their conduct, utterances, and chance-dapping, to the extent of alleging that a given coalition has already won the elections.
Previous acts of violence have taken place because IEBC was not transparent, or bungled the election, or agreed to be coerced and threatened. IEBC, be firm and steadfast. Do not allow yourselves to be coerced or threatened.
Roots Party presidential candidate George Wajackoyah took his presidential campaigns to Nanyuki, where he dismissed opinion polls that have placed him a distant third after Raila Odinga of Azimio la Umoja and William Ruto of the Kenya Kwanza alliance. Wajackoyah says that he cannot have a 2% rating, claiming that it was a plot to rig the August 9th general election, dismissing Ruto's bottom-up economic model and Agano Party presidential candidate Mwaure Waihiga over his Bring Back Money Hidden in Overseas Accounts campaign.
I will be a dictator to mzungus. Zile makampuni ambazo ziko hapa za wazungu, kwanza zile zinafanya polls. At opinion polls ya nyanyao. Mimi naweza kuwa na 2%, mnaamini hiyo? So meanza kurig. And they know I'm going to be the next president. Manake all the youths wamewacha hiyo mawili barozi wazee huko. How do you tell young people who finished university at the bottom up? Unatukana kina wamama tuangalie kuanzia chini kwenda juu. Na wewe uko na bibi yako. Unataka kutoa swali ya mama muangalie kutoka chini. Sio ni madharau. Alafu hapa Laikipia kuna wengine wahuni wanasema ati ngenge wilbaro kumanyi. Unanisikia ama mjanisikia? I want you Kenyans to make a viable decision. You are going to elect some bastards in parliament. Hiyo itakuwa ni shauri yenu. Na wenye wako na mali nchini wa Kikuyu, wenye wako na mali nchini wa Hindi, wenye wako na mali nchini wa Arabu. Pigeni, mwache Ukristo mingi hapa. Mwache panganga nyingi hapa. Hata wa Israeli wanatengeneza vitu zao na vitaa zao kwa bangi. Bangi oye! Bangi oye! Bangi ya!
Education CS Professor George Magoha has said that he is content with his achievement and will leave office once his time is up, therefore dismissing claims that he wanted an extension of his time in office. John Kimani reports.
Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha has disapproved claims that he wants to extend his time in office following a comment he made a few days ago, pleading with the incoming government to grant him more time in office to complete the commissioning of the CBC classrooms. The CS says that he is committed to working to the last day to make sure that all pending projects are completed.
First of all, let me disabuse the minds of the citizens. I'm not looking for another job. What I have is enough. I have a target to make. So I will work even on Monday. That is the day of the election, isn't it? And you can see by that time our target will have gotten higher because you can see how I'm interacting with my people.
Professor Magoha has gone on to insist that he will exit office when the current government is relieved of its powers, saying that his main focus is to fulfill his target of commissioning 100% of the CBC classrooms by the time he leaves office, a move he is very optimistic about.
After the election is announced, usually I'm serving someone called Uhuru Kenyatta. And I will live with him. When he's still there, as a president, you will see me out working. When he stops, I will stop. If I complete the target before then, well and good. And the way we are going, don't you think I'll complete it very early? For example, if somebody goes to court, before they finish, I will have completed. And I will also rest and look at the television like everybody else.
CS Magoha additionally indicated that the country's rating in CBC classrooms completion is currently at 52%, Nyeri being the leading county at 88%, closely followed by Kiambu, Kirinyaga and Murang'a.
For the second phase, we are doing extremely well, starting with the central region, where Nyeri is leading at 88.7%, which is excellent, followed by all the others which are about between 65 and 70%. It includes Kiambu, Kirinyaga, and Murang'a. They are doing extremely well. The next region that is doing extremely well is the Nyanza region, where an average there is about 70. When you remove Kisii, which is still at around 50%, we are going to focus on Kisii.
Joad Kimani, TV 47.
From Magoha, we go to Kenya's favorite TV segment, The Fact Checker. Now, a video that went viral showing the Deputy President, that is William Ruto, making remarks perceived as inciting is edited. The Fact Checker has established that the video was edited with some of the remarks made by Ruto removed. When the video surfaced online, a lot of Kenyans on Twitter reacted to it, especially after it was shared widely by leaders and those from the Azimio coalition especially. Now, the remarks as portrayed in the clip were not shared by the Deputy President, but in his message, the DP asked communities to unite and live together ahead of the August 9th polls. Now, the DP said that the Kalenjins who are here, the people from Western Kenya who are here, the people from Nyanza who are here, those from Central, those from all parts of Kenya who are here belong to Uasin Gishu. Their home is Uasin Gishu, and this Uasin Gishu is the home of every Kenyan. And we want to tell those that want to divide us, shame on you. Well, the edited version, however, has been pulled down by Twitter after being mass reported by Twitter users. We do not intend to replay the video because that will be magnifying their message. That is this week's Fact Checker. Time now for a very short break. Don't go away. We'll be back with more.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
Tricent School of Medical Health Science and Technology is a premier training institute for market-driven courses. With state-of-the-art facilities, competent and dedicated members of staff, and linkages with the medical industry, you are assured of a bright future when you study with us. Enroll today in our campuses at Juja, Nairobi West, Kisumu, and Homa Bay.
Tunataka uwazi na kazi.
Number one, nataka Kiambu iwe 24-hour economy. Nataka kuweka mataa 20,000 na sigojei August. Naanza saa hii. Nataka kuunganisha mabarabara za Kiambu. Lami ningetaka kuweka 1,000 kilometers of road tarmac. Ile economic empowerment nataka kuweka ni viwanda, vile tunasema agro processing industry. So these are the objectives I want, because najua Kiambu, if you put enabling environment, watu wa Kiambu wanajua kazi yao na watawaifanya. Mkinipatia hiyo kiti, hiyo kazi nitawafanyia, hiyo kazi naijua. We can do that very very quickly. Mimi na iko na ile ujumbe, nakwambia mimi ni engineer, mhandisi mimi.
Usiyakubalie maumivu ya misuli kukatiza ratiba yako. Kaluma Pain Balm ni dawa ya kusugua iliyotengenezwa kutoka kwa miche maalum ili kutuliza maumivu ya misuli. Kaluma Pain Balm. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari. Watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Now, the Director of Public Prosecutions, that is Noordin Haji, is a man on a mission. With just 4 days to go before Kenyans go to the general election, Noordin Haji has a plan to prevent those who are planning to cause violence in this coming election. What are his plans? Our senior political affairs reporter Apollo Kamau sat down with the DPP, and this is what he had to say.
Welcome to the interview. On the set, we have the Director of Public Prosecutions, Noordin Haji, to give us his perspective on next week's general election and matters graft now that President Uhuru Kenyatta's term is coming to an end. Bono DPP, welcome to TV47.
Thank you very much.
Today you've launched the call center to report election violence cases and other incidences during the election. And it's coming at a critical time, given what we've witnessed in the past few days and weeks. The campaigns are highly charged, especially between the two main candidates. Given the tone and the tempo they are setting their supporters up for, and the election is next week, are you prepared? Is the office well prepared to handle this?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I think what we've done is we've made a lot of preparation, and different institutions mandated with ensuring that the elections are undertaken in a free and fair environment and peaceful, have done a lot to ensure that they have the capacity to be able to quell any problems that will be there, but also to be able to monitor any breaches or offenses that are going to be committed during this period. And ODPP has also done its part. The reason why we have launched the call center is for us to be able to get to the Mwananchi and know what is happening and get to know what kind of problems they have on the ground. That will then give us the ability to direct investigations and the police on what to expect in terms of the investigation that we should take and the evidence that we expect. But this will also allow us to have data on what is happening for follow-up, For some of the offenses, you may not be able to deal with them there and then. I think the deployment of the police will be more to try and quell if there are riots or if there are any conflicts on the ground. But then we will then have to revisit and look at the offenses that have been committed. And the call center and crime mapping and data collection will allow us to be able to go back and follow up those offenses that were there. And this is an assurance that we will not let anybody who has committed offenses to go scot-free. And we hope that we'll be able to net as much as possible information and data for us to be allowed to then act upon the information that we will have.
And this is very important, especially given the kind of disputes we've had in the past, falling back to 2007, 2013 and 2017, when it comes to court disputes, this call center will play such a critical role in terms of the evidence that is going to be presented before court.
Yes, you know, what it will allow us to do is follow up any complaints. And we will be able to have real-time data if we are called when the crime is happening or when it has just happened. And we'll be able to also tell where it has happened. And we'll also be able to have the information of the person who was complaining for follow-up. And we also say that where we have individuals who are afraid for their lives, we'll also be able to make the decision whether they will come under witness protection agency so that they are protected. And we are able to preserve that information and the evidence that will be there. Yeah.
In next week's, ahead of next week's general election, are there people who are on your watch list, given the past trends? Are there hotspots you've mapped out? We know, like, for example, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission has cited 16 counties as hotspots.
I think we will probably just follow the same, because these hotspots that have been agreed generally by the agencies. But I mean, in addition to people who have committed crimes, we will also be watching that. But we will also be, we will also have a free mind to say that maybe there will be new individuals, new accused persons who will come up. And what the call center and the mapping system will allow us is to be able to see in real time what is happening and where, and probably who is also committing it. Instead of having hearsay, we will have data that we can be able to revisit and hold those people who are responsible to book and bring them to book.
During these campaigns ahead of next week's election, there is the issue of integrity. There are candidates who are on the campaign trail. They have cases in court. They're also spelling out, especially if you look at their manifestos, grand plans to fight corruption. If you look at both sides of the coalition, Kenya Kwanza and Azimio, in case any of them are sent to power, what kind of a scenario does that leave you
see,
in?
The problem is the lacuna in the law. What we have tried to do as ODPP, together with the EACC, is to sensitize that. And as ODPP, we've gone all the way to the Supreme Court on the issue of whether somebody should step aside from office. And we are at the Court of Appeal about the definition of who is a public officer and who is a state officer. What the Act has done under ASECA is to differentiate between a public officer and a state officer. Our argument is that in the Constitution, it is one and the same. You cannot expect, for example, civil servants, when they are charged, to step aside and not serve and go on half pay. And then you have, for example, a governor who is having executive powers. When you charge him, he does not step aside and he continues staying in office, and even is able to run again. So what we've said, and I think the Supreme Court has also agreed with us. First of all, Chapter 6, cosmetic, and it must have teeth. And I think the Supreme Court has done that, has clarified that it has teeth. If you're impeached, then you cannot be able to run. That means you cannot be able to run anywhere, not only where you've committed the crime. But in addition, we want to further that, to be able to say that if you are charged, like a civil servant who is a public servant and a state officer, and a state officer and a public officer, you should step aside and you should not have the right to run until you clear your name. But these are things that we will have to be able to legislate. It has to come, into law, because as it stands, you will have to have served at least 6 months for you to be barred from running for office. But we want to be able to change that. And what we are telling Kenyans, we will only be able to change that if they vote the right people. What EACC has done together with us is to tell the public who are the people we have charged. And as ODPP, we have done that through statements and ensuring that we reach out to people so that they understand why are we charging an individual, the governor or an MP. Now it is up to Kenyans. The time has come for them to decide. We've given them the information. They know that these people have been charged. They have the vote. So if they utilize their vote well, they will be able also to capacitate us, because they can vote the right people who will come and make the right laws to allow us to have that, sharper teeth to bite, and to allow us to clean up even the political landscape. Yeah.
And what if a majority of them gets elected, and given the work of your office, how do you see yourself in the next regime?
Of course, we have to respect that will be the will of Kenyans. And it will, of course, reflect very badly on us as Kenyans, that we are willing to give people who we know will steal an opportunity to steal, and actually weaken the state itself. As ODPP, we will continue through whatever laws we have and whatever rules and regulations we have to deal with such people. We will not give them room, we will not shy away, and we will not be afraid. I think our mandate is very clear, and we will utilize the Constitution and the laws that are there. Yeah.
If you listen to Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, for example, Azimio, they are saying they are going to jail the big fish. If you listen to Kenya Kwanza, they are saying they are going to form a state capture commission of inquiry. How does that sit with your mandate and other state agencies investigating graft cases moving forward under this new regime?
I think it will just sit in, they will have to follow the Constitution, even if they're going to undertake to realize their manifestos. What will have to happen is they will have to follow the Constitution and make sure that they do it within the limitations and provisions of the Constitution. So whatever is being proposed, at the end of it, we'll have to face the test of the Constitution. But in relation to jailing the big fish, I think under President Uhuru's leadership, we've been able to do that. We've been able to charge the highest number of governors ever before. These are very high-ranking people. We've charged cabinet secretaries and permanent secretaries. We've charged MPs and heads of crucial parastatals, and we're in court, and we are proceeding very well. So whoever comes in, it will just be an impetus to allow us to continue the work and the foundation that President Kenyatta had laid. What I'm reading from the different parties is that they will build on that foundation. And I think we will wait and receive and work with them with the goodwill that they will build through their manifestos and their commitments to Kenyans. Yeah.
There's this illusion, and there are questions among Kenyans that the so-called big fish, since this war on graft started, you came in office in March 2018. We've never had the main culprits face justice up to the conclusive end.
But we've not concluded. So you cannot make that conclusion. We have charged them. We are in court, and we are about to finish most of them. And some of them we have finished. We have been able to, for example, the biggest case in Kenya's history was Waluke, followed by, there was the Rio. Wario was a cabinet secretary. We managed to charge him, and we convicted both of them successfully. There's also a number of other senior parastatal CEOs that we managed to convict them. And the other cases are still in court, and we are very confident that we will be able to succeed and convict them. Yeah.
So under your tenure, we can expect the big fish to face the law. And when I'm talking about this, I'm also talking about the KEMSA case, because it has been going on. There are questions about it. People have been asking questions. And also the Aurora and Mwaure.
First of all, the Aurora and Mwaure is in court. We have been battling for almost 2 years against court orders that and applications that were made by the individuals, the former CES and his other colleagues. And we succeeded in all of them. And for the whole of part of last year and this year, we have been successfully prosecuting that case. And we are hopeful that by December we will have concluded it. So that one is proceeding very well. In relation to the KEMSA, we have asked EACC to cover some areas, and we have agreed jointly that they will do that. We were waiting for MLAs, which is the mutual legal assistance from China. It's taking a bit long, but we're hopeful also that we will get responses from them. So there are a bit of bottlenecks here and there, but we are working on them. And the issue of KEMSA is, I could charge the way it is, but I would not be faithful to Kenyans and to the Constitution. I was not satisfied that the evidence was sufficient, and therefore we're waiting, and we are assured that with the good work that EACC is doing, we will get the evidence to be able to then make the decision to charge. The beauty of crime is that it never expires. And even if somebody feels that I am, playing around with it, there will be another DPP who will come and can be as easily able to pursue those cases as anybody. What I want to say here is I assure Kenyans, even the KEMSA case will come once we are done with it. Yeah.
President Uhuru Kenyatta's term is coming to an end. There are issues to do with his legacy from a graft perspective, and as the Director of Public Prosecutions, would you say you have advised him in the best way as far as war on graft is concerned? Has he achieved as he leaves office?
I think what His Excellency has done, as I said before, is to lay a very strong foundation, whereby as a country we will build, because the foundation was not there. And it is only during his tenure, especially the last tenure, where we were really able to build a much stronger foundation where people now can come and build on it. So as you can see, it is an election agenda, and it is an agenda that has been forced to be discussed because of the foundation that President Uhuru has put in place. So whoever comes in will have to build the goodwill that he built and give the support to the agencies that are required. And that's what we are hoping for. And this is the real legacy of His Excellency the President as he leaves office, that he gave us room to be able to operate independently, because at no time have we been asked either to stop or to relook at a matter. We have been given the independence to do that. And you will see, you can even gauge that we have been accused by all parties. And I think for me that is a very good gauge. When both parties from both sides and the divide of political have been able to say that ODPP is not bidding for them. This is something that we must be very thankful to His Excellency the President. Yeah.
Since you were appointed over the past few years that you've been in office, have you faced frustrations in executing your mandate?
Well, like any other human being, you will of course face frustrations. But the question is, are we able to surmount them? And are we patient enough and meticulous enough to ensure that you are able to overcome it as an institution? And I think the answer is yes.
You've set aside some graft cases to be able to handle election offences. What can we...
I think people have misunderstood the concept. What we said is that we are going to prioritize election offences. Our number one priority was initially graft cases, but now it's going to be election offences. And election offences include graft. And this is a managerial decision that you have to make. How do you manage your resources? How do you manage your human resource also to ensure that you are able and capable to face the challenges that will come about with elections? So that is the decision that we made, that we will prioritize election offences. We will prioritize other cases like terrorism, for example, which we are likely to exploit the election period. But in no way does it mean that we are not dealing with, or we have stopped dealing with corruption cases. Yeah.
So once the new administration takes over, given the priority given to election cases, what can we expect from the DPP as rolling out the anti-graft agenda moving forward?
I think if, for example, you have to look at two scenarios. If it's going to be a peaceful election and there's no problem, then we will transition very quickly back to what we were doing before and deal with graft cases with the speed that is required. Because some of the officers might have been utilized for or kept on standby to deal with election cases. But where we have violence and we'll have a number of cases, then it might take a bit of time for us to come back to be able to deal with the election corruption cases with the speed and the attention that it requires. But that doesn't mean that we have stopped. We are still continuing, and we will still be able to make decisions to charge. And we've made a number of decisions even now.
How would you describe President Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy?
In relation to the justice sector, I think he has built a very good legacy in it. If you look at the police, he has capacity to them to be able to deal with threats. They have been trained. They have increased the number, so much so that you are able then to reach a threshold that Kenyans are able to say that they're secure and they can get the services from the police. As ODPP, we've been really capacitated in terms of training, even in terms of increasing our numbers to be able to deal with the challenges of prosecutions. And we have actually been given the room to be able to look at evidence in a more, a critical manner, and to be able to reduce the incidences of miscarriage of justice. In addition, also, of course, we have been really capacitated to deal with terrorism, to deal with new crimes like cybercrime. Even this election period, we've been capacitated to be able to meet the challenges that will come with it. Of course, the cream it all is our ability also to fight corruption. We've been given, the room to be able to look at cases and make the decisions independent, and that is key. There have been challenges with the judiciary, but at the end of it, I think they have found the right foot. And as you can see, we are now working seamlessly. And this will allow us to be able to do a lot more reforms, because then we are now aligned in relation to what is expected of us and what we are looking into being able to deliver for Kenyans. Yeah.
And talking about seamless operations and the way you interact even with the other agencies, there have been supremacy wars. Moving on to the new regime, will that be a thing of the past?
When you say supremacy wars, first of all, you will have to define that, because supremacy wars presumes that individuals are at par. Me and the IG, we have no problem. So unless you define what this supremacy war is, I don't know. We work with the National Police Service very well. We work with the ESCC very well. the NCIC and others.
Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you so much. Our senior political affairs reporter, Apollo Kamau, there with the Director of Public Prosecutions, Noordin Haji, laying down his plans to curb electoral violence as well as other offenses during the electioneering period. We move on now to women and nursing injuries at the War Memorial Hospital in Nakuru after being attacked and stabbed at their home in Teachers Estate in Gilgil. Chichi Josephine with more.
Jane Kibe, aged 48 years, and her sister Perez Onjiro, aged 35 years, are nursing serious wounds after being stabbed 19 times and 9 times respectively. It is alleged that a son to one of the parliamentary candidates in Gilgil, a Form 3 boy, committed the act on Monday afternoon when he entered the house and locked himself inside, where he attacked the two.
Alinikuta kwa bedroom. Kunikuta kwa bedroom, mimi nikamsalimia. Nikamwambia habari yako. Yeye akaniambia mimi nimekuja kukuua. Nikamuuliza nimekufanyia nini? Immediately niseme hivyo, alikuwa already ameingia kwa shingo yangu. Akaanza kuninyonga. Kuninyonga, akatoa kisu kwa mfuko. Kutoa kisu kwa mfuko akaniambia, "Mbona husapoti baba yangu? Nyinyi ni majirani. Na mbona husapoti baba yangu?" Immediately akaanza kunistab. Ananidunga. Anatoa kisu ananidunga tena. Nikaona huyu kijana kabisa ataniua.
Mimi niliingia kwa nyumba, nikaacha sister yangu kwa bedroom. Kuacha sister yangu kwa bedroom, mimi nikaenda kwa bafu kuoga. Nikiwa naoga, nikasikia makelele. Kusikia makelele nikatoka. Nikiwa tu na towel peke yake. Nikapata akimdunga visu. Kupata akimdunga visu nikamshika. Nikamuuliza, "Mark, ni nini tumekufanyia? Mbona mnamdunga sister yangu na kisu?" Hakunijibu chochote. Akaendelea kumdunga kama mara 3 nikiona. Sasa vile niliona it's serious, nikamshika na mkono mbili. Vile nilimshika nikamsukuma, kumsukuma sasa nikaanza kumnyang'anya kisu. Kumnyang'anya kisu ndiye akanikata hapa na akanikata hapa.
According to Nakuru County Police Commander Peter Mwanzo, the suspect has been detained at the Gilgil police station and will be arraigned in court to answer charges of attempted murder.
Huyo kijana ni mtoto wa one of the MPs ambaye anataka kuaspire to an aspirant kuwa MP. Na sitaki kusema ni mambo ya kisiasa, lakini kijana anasema kwa nini amsupport baba yangu. Tumemuona kuna moja amedungwa visu kama 18 hivi, lakini 9 ndizo ziko mbaya zaidi. Lakini kwa upande wetu kama polisi tumeweza kushika huyo kijana. Na kijana atapelekwa mahakamani kuweza kujibu maswali kwa nini alifanya hivyo. Tuna prefer charge ya kukusudia kuua.
Mwanzo noted that further investigations are ongoing while assuring Nakuru residents of tight security before, during and after elections. Chichi Josephine, TV 47.
Unionists from the health sector have urged Kenyans to ensure they adhere to the COVID-19 guidelines even as they cast their votes next week, so as to ensure the country does not suffer another wave as a result of the general election. According to the unionists, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, should deliberately ensure that all voters have their masks on as they queue to vote, so as to safeguard the lives of Kenyans even as they exercise their democratic right.
Even as the Ministry of Health continues to remain mum about health precautions during the general elections next week, unionists from the health sector have urged IEBC to include COVID-19 guidelines in their voter sensitizations so as to safeguard the lives of Kenyans as they exercise their democratic rights.
There still need for every individual to be cautious and for everybody to take actions and take responsibility of ensuring that they're vaccinated or that they are able to prevent themselves from getting the disease wherever they're going to vote. So they still need to take caution as an individual.
Pia unapopanga ile laini, hakikisha uko na nafasi ile ambaye inastahili kulingana na vile imewekwa na Wizara ya Afya, na pia uweze ukavaa barakoa yako vizuri, tusiweze pia tukaumia kutokana na COVID kwa sababu tulienda kupiga kura.
According to them, Kenyans who are due for their COVID-19 booster doses should also go for their jabs ahead of Tuesday so as to boost their immunity against the virus.
Wakienda pale, la muhimu kwanza, kwa sababu tuko na vaccine za kutosha. Ikiwezekana, enda udungwe vaccine, ukuwe na ile booster yako, ili immunity yako ikuwe mzuri, usiweze ukaambukizwa kwa haraka.
The unionists who played a key part in the formulation of both Azimio and Kenya Kwanza Health Manifesto have also urged Kenyans to vote for leaders who have key health issues at heart.
As an affiliate of the Central Organization of Trade Unions, COTU, we endorsed Azimio, Azimio Party or Azimio team for the presidential election that is upcoming. And this was based on understanding on what we stand for and what we need. Because it is much easier to put a candidate to accountability than putting the cards out, the information there for people to decide.
Hakikisha unayempigia kura ni mtu ambaye ana value afya yako. Kama yule mtu unaenda kupigia kura ama wanaotaka ule uongozi ni mtu aliweza kuonekana akiwafuta maafisa wa afya hata wakati ambapo ni wachache sana na watu hawapati zile services, utamrudishaje na wewe mwenyewe ndio unaenda kuumia?
Zainab Mohammed, T47.
Well, time now to cross over to the world of business. Sweden vehicle manufacturing company known as Rome Electric has partnered with Kitale-based Kengra Logistics to unveil next-generation electric motorcycle technology in Western Kenya. The electric motorcycle is said to reduce fuel consumption and cost of operations among motorists. Speaking during the launching of that project, Kengra Managing Director Grace Wanjao recognized that the electric motorcycle will be of great help to environmental conservation as a result of owners being subjected to the use of clean energy. She also acknowledged long-term cost savings since electric energy is cheaper than fuel.
The first electric motorbike in Trans Nzoia, which has been supplied by Rome, a Swiss firm. We have Kengra, who are the franchise handlers on behalf of Rome. Rome is based in Sweden, and Kengra will be the dealers on the ground in Kenya.
Why we embraced this idea of electric motorcycles is because we thought that we need to save our environment, and we also realized that the motorcycle also saves money, although at the beginning you may think that it is more expensive, but as time goes, you find that you cut on the costs of fuel.
You spend less